why rejection hurts, why it stays, and how the mind heals. Most people underestimate the psychological power of rejection. They assume emotional pain fades quickly, a few days of sadness, some overthinking, then life moves on. But rejection rarely disappears that easily. Long after a relationship ends, the mind keeps replaying conversations, old messages, and unfinished moments. Why? Because the brain experiences rejection as a real threat. Neuroscience studies have shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain systems involved in physical pain. In simple terms, emotional rejection hurts because the brain partially processes it like injury. This is not weakness, it is biology. For most of human history, survival depended on belonging to a group. Rejection once meant danger and isolation. This is why rejection can create physical symptoms: chest tightness, insomnia, mental exhaustion, and obsessive thinking. But rejection becomes even more painful when it damages identity, because people rarely grieve only the loss of another person. Often, they grieve the loss of who they believed they were inside the relationship. The mind begins asking, whoa, what was wrong with me? Why was I not enough? At that point, rejection stops being emotional pain alone. It becomes self-evaluation. Psychologists call this rumination, a mental loop where the brain keeps replaying painful experiences, searching for explanation and control. But excessive rumination usually deepens suffering instead of healing it. The mind becomes trapped between memory and analysis, trying to solve something emotionally unfinished. This is why ghosting feels psychologically brutal. The absence of explanation leaves the brain unable to complete the emotional story, and because the brain hates uncertainty, it keeps searching for answers. But there is another reason rejection stays alive. Emotionally painful experiences become neurologically prioritized. The brain pays more attention to emotional threats than neutral experiences. This is called negativity bias. As a result, painful emotional memories often become more mentally persistent than positive ones. Carl Jung once wrote, "Me, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Attachment theory offers another explanation. People with anxious attachment patterns become highly sensitive to emotional distance and abandonment. A delayed message, a colder tone, a sudden emotional shift. Small changes can trigger intense emotional distress because the nervous system is not reacting only to the present moment. It is reacting to older emotional fears connected to abandonment and inconsistency. This explains why some people become attached to relationships that hurt them. The relationship itself may be unhealthy, but psychologically familiar. And familiarity often feels emotionally safer than peace. But eventually, healing requires something difficult. A person must stop asking, why? Why did they reject me? And start asking, why did the rejection destroy my sense of self? That question changes everything, because healing does not begin when another person apologizes. Healing begins when the mind stops measuring self-worth through another person's inability to love correctly. Real healing is not about becoming emotionless, it is about understanding. This pain is something I experienced, not who I am. And perhaps the deepest truth is this: people do not suffer only because they lost someone. Sometimes they suffer because rejection exposed hidden fears. Fear of abandonment, fear of inadequacy, fear of being emotionally replaceable. And although painful, becoming aware of those fears is often where healing truly begins.